This is where you get to find out how we make it happen. How are we surviving in a car for 2,300 miles and not kill each other?
I think that song was a little bit harsh.
Well, it was on your iPod.
I mean, not harsh in general, but harsh to describe today. First off, I was the one who you were mad at.
Yes, it's true. I can't even remember in typical fashion. Just wait, beautiful rocks.
We're in western New Mexico right now.
Western New Mexico. Look at that. Oh my goodness.
Snow in the distance.
It's almost so beautiful as to quell our growing
distaste for each
other. Okay, pardon my camera work, folks. We're working with what we got here. Okay, so I was mad at you, and then we got caught in our little cycles of being pissed off at each other.
Right.
So how do we do it? What's your secret now?
When we fight now?
Yeah, when we fight now.
Well, what used to happen was that when we fought, I would get mad at you for not getting mad back, because that indicated to me that you weren't as passionate or as invested as I was, which isn't true, but it felt that way, right?
Yeah.
So I would kind of goad you into yelling back at me,
Yeah.
and that made you mad because you didn't want to be that person.
And then you had proof that I cared.
Right. But then I realized it didn't actually work very well that way. That you might yell back, but it was not out of anything other than frustration rather than whatever. So now I feel like, well, if I'm forced to be near you instead of just being able to scurry away and go on a long drive by myself, if I'm forced to be near you like I am right now,
for 5 or 7 days.
I generally apologize even if I don't want to. I usually say I'm sorry even if I don't know what I'm sorry for, which I think just helps flip it on my head so that I realize that we're both in this and odds are we were both hurt. What else do I do? I generally try and process through it, speak why I'm upset.
What's bothering you?
What's bothering me? What I may have done wrong and how I could have fixed that. And then I usually ask is there anything I can do to remedy the situation? And it feels really shitty because it's then I have to admit that I might not have been completely in the right, which is not fun. But it tends to dissipate things faster. I mean, the fight that we had last night was over by the time we got out of the car, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I get the way I notice it for myself is I get something pisses me off, or I feel like you're not hearing me, or I remember what last night's fight was about. It was I was driving. Allie, as you know from the last podcast, likes to drive.
And I'm very, very snobby about driving.
Yeah, and I'm not the world's greatest driver, I would think. But you have a tendency to tell me how to drive from the passenger side. Which, if I'm cranky or not, whatever, I can get caught up in being well, fuck you. So what I try to do is I remember, okay, am I actually... Because the fighting's really about who wins. Who's right. We're having an argument about who's more right or who's the more victim.
Right.
And when I can remember that, I'm okay, that's actually not my intention in this relationship. And then I will always, as quickly as I can, I'll apologize for whatever reaction I'm having. And usually saying, I could have probably done that better. I'm feeling this way right now. And then I try to express what it was that got me caught in the loop.
Wait, is this a conscious thing? You actually are check box. Yeah. Okay, I shared this.
Well, it's not
box.
a formula, but it's a pretty good strategy. Because I know that if I keep telling you, the worst thing for me to do is be apologize. Tell me that I'm right.
Well, sure.
Tell me that I have been victimized more than you.
Right.
Which is really what I'm fighting for. Is I want you to recognize that I'm more the victim. I want to win.
I've been wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, rather than, okay, so I'm having an emotional reaction to something, and it's the chemistry of my brain right now that's flooding through me.
Sure.
That I'm pissed off, not actually what I want to be doing or how I want to be spending my time. And so when I can it'll take a couple of minutes for the chemistry of my outrage or whatever to quell, and I'm okay, I know that if I apologize, if I take responsibility, if I share with you what it was that was going on for me, and even sometimes invite you, like, is there anything I could have done better, or is there anything we could shift for next time? Like, then it becomes like cooperation, and that seems to calm things down. So as long as I stay away from blaming you or trying to win at the game of being a victim, and refocus on my intention, which is to stay connected, or even like sometimes I'll reach over and touch you if you want to be touched, because being connected makes it harder for me to be angry at you. It's the disconnect that helps keep the stuff. But
that's funny, because for me, when I get mad, I want to get out. I want to walk around and be alone, which probably means that you're stewing too.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. I mean, and if, you know, it's brilliant. We're trapped in the car.
Right.
We have to handle it. Because you can't just, well, I guess I could just jump out, but that's not useful.
It's rocky on the curb.
Yeah. So that's it. Anything else?
Well, I had more questions, but
This is getting long.
It is getting long. Well, anyway, this is stuff that...
Leave your questions on Facebook or on YouTube,
how to
on the
fight
comments.
like a champ.
Ask us questions about questions you have or challenges you have about fighting, and we'll try to address some of them on our long road trip. It will distract us
from each other.
All right, let's see if we can close it out here.
With that side.